What is up, sweaty gamers? And in this video I wanted to switch things up a little bit and talk about the recent Fallout series that I found myself thoroughly entertained by. I feel like I would be doing a disservice if I did not talk about this show and give you guys my honest thoughts about it, considering that Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4 all have a place in my gaming library. So with that out of the way, I will now get on to my thoughts with the series. So the show finally ended up coming out a day earlier, and of course, I was expecting a shoddy, average at best series that followed the same footsteps that the Halo series did, but to my surprise, the show actually does a good job of drawing a certain setting and mood from the beginning. And as a viewer, it sort of hints at a show that could change my initial thinking. This was not entirely realized until the first episode, and from that first episode, we can understand that there is a decent amount of action, though it's not overdone, I'd say. The show goes over the building blocks for each of our characters that gives them much more depth to the story. This accompanied by a new to the Fallout universe story that sets the show up for more seasons in the future. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am a lore enthusiast of the Fallout universe with the lore and stories from the games, because I'm not. I would like to believe, however, that I have a better understanding of the lore in this Fallout universe, more or less than what the average enjoyer might have. So with me saying all of that, I can appreciate that the show does a good job at delivering a story that is easier to digest as a fan of the series, as well as being a show that is not too difficult to understand if you have zero experience with any of the games. I'm also not going to say whether or not that the show is canon to the games or if the show retcons anything from the previous entries, but there are a few questions that the show leaves that could end up being answered later on that might change my thoughts on this and how the show portrays them. I'm not here to say that the show is perfectly right to the timeline, or if this is wrong or if that is correct. I do think that the way some of the factions in the show are portrayed are a bit misleading in regards to how they are interpreted from the games. These are the Brotherhood of Steel and the NCR. But with that, I can also assume that many details and story from these factions is left out on the table for further detail in the future seasons of the show. It will remain to be seen, as I cannot say with confidence if this is what is meant to be of this group or that group, but I will say that even knowing how both of these powerhouses of factions from the games are portrayed, I think that the show could have done a better job of painting them for initial impressions. And of course, I think it makes sense that the show writers would want to leave room for some of the bigger grand entrances of the show for the later seasons. There is much more detail to just these factions alone, along with a lot of other factions that have yet to be seen in the series on the show. Great deal of lore here that could lead to a show that is too convoluting or too confusing for a viewer. But overall, I can say that the show does a pretty good job at giving the Fallout universe a foray into the landscape of television, staying somewhat true to the accuracy of the lore in the games. It was a good watch, and I think many people would agree that it is nice to have a show that is finally executed well enough to be considered a good video game adaptation. Many shows before have tried to pull from a series, bringing in the fans of the universe, from Halo, The Last of Us, and The Witcher, all of those being garbage in my honest opinion. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would ask if you would consider leaving a like and dropping a bomb on that subscribe so you can stay up to date on my many great cinematic releases. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you thought this show was good or not. Anyways, see you later.